We're taking a closer look at a classic 1972 Ford F-100 long bed 4x4 pickup that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at just $6,900, which seems like a steal for a piece of automotive history. Now let's dive into the details. This F-100 marks the last year of the F-Series 5th generation, making it a true collector's item. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 360 cubic inch V8 engine that's sure to get your heart racing. The 4-on-the-floor standard shift and locking hubs give you full control over this beast, while the power brakes, sans power steering, add to the authentic driving experience. According to the seller, this truck has 171,300 miles on the odometer and has been well maintained by just 2 owners throughout its lifetime. The clean Colorado title is a testament to its well-kept condition. The seller also mentions that the truck starts right up, which is always a good sign. The green paint job gives this F-100 a classic look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. And with its 4x4 capabilities, you can take this truck off the beaten path and explore some new terrain. Now, it's important to note that while the seller describes the condition as good, it's always a good idea to inspect the vehicle in person and take it for a test drive before making a final decision. With a vehicle that's nearly 50 years old, there may be some wear and tear that's not immediately apparent. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic truck with plenty of character and a strong engine, this 1972 Ford F-100 long bed 4x4 pickup is definitely worth checking out. At just $6,900, it's an opportunity to own a piece of automotive history without breaking the bank. 2. We're taking a look at a 1985 Chevrolet C10 that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic square body is being offered at $15,000, which might seem a bit steep at first glance, but let's dive into the details to see what this truck has to offer. Under the hood, you'll find a 305 V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission, which should provide plenty of power for cruising around town or hitting the highway. The seller mentions that the truck runs and drives great, which is always a good sign when you're looking at a vehicle that's over 35 years old. One of the standout features of this C10 is its overall condition. The seller states that there's no damage and that the truck is in great shape. That's impressive for a vehicle with 440,000 miles on the odometer. It's clear that this truck has been well maintained throughout its life, which is a testament to the durability of these classic Chevys. Another nice touch is the removable canopy, which can come in handy for hauling gear or protecting your cargo from the elements. And while this C10 is a 2WD model, it should still be more than capable of handling most everyday driving situations. Now let's talk about that price tag. $15,000 is definitely on the high end for a truck of this age and mileage, even if it is in great condition. It's possible that the seller is firm on their price, but it never hurts to negotiate a bit and see if there's any wiggle room. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Chevy truck that's been well maintained and is ready to hit the road, this 1985 C10 is definitely worth checking out. Just be prepared to pay a premium for its excellent condition and the nostalgia factor that comes with owning a piece of automotive history. As always, be sure to inspect the truck in person and take it for a test drive before making a final decision. 3. We've got a sweet deal on a 1984 Chevrolet Silverado that's sure to turn some heads. This classic SUV is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $8,000, and it's got some serious potential. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This Blazer is packing a late 80s 350 TBI fuel-injected engine that's paired with a 700 R4 transmission and an NP208C transfer case. According to the seller, all 3 components are in great shape and running strong. That's a big plus for anyone looking for a reliable ride. Now let's talk about the look of this beast. The seller admits that the orange paint job has seen better days and has faded to what they describe as a sweet peach tone. But hey, who doesn't love a little character? Plus, with a little TLC, you could easily restore this Blazer to its former glory. One of the standout features of this Silverado is the lift kit. It's been outfitted with an off-road design shackle flip and springs, which means it's ready to tackle any terrain you throw at it. And with those near-new 35 OV 1250 R15 tires, including a spare, you'll have plenty of grip and clearance to get where you need to go, Inside, you'll find some nice creature comforts like power windows, power locks, power steering, and even air conditioning. And if you're hauling gear, you'll appreciate the power rear gate window that makes loading and unloading a breeze. The seller describes this Blazer as a turnkey truck that's ready to hit the road. Whether you're looking for a restoration project, a capable off-roader, or just a sweet ride to cruise around town in, this 1984 Chevrolet Silverado is definitely worth checking out. Now let's talk price. At $8,000, this Blazer is priced to sell. Sure, it may need a little work to get it looking showroom ready, but with a solid foundation and some killer features, it's a great starting point for any enthusiast. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic SUV with plenty of potential, this 1984 Chevrolet Silverado is definitely worth a look. Just be prepared to put in a little elbow grease to get it looking its best. 4. We've got a real treat for you. A 1985 Ford Bronco that's sure to make your heart skip a beat. This beauty is up for sale on Craigslist, and it's got a price tag of $20,000. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of dough for an old SUV. But trust me, once you see what this Bronco has to offer, you'll understand why it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the condition of this beast. The seller describes it as excellent, and from what I can see in the photos, they're not exaggerating. The red paint job looks absolutely stunning, and there's no visible rust or damage to speak of. It's clear that this Bronco has been well maintained throughout its life, which is a testament to its previous owners. Under the hood, you'll find a 5.0L V8 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. This combination is a classic for a reason. It provides plenty of power and torque to tackle any terrain, while still being easy to drive on the highway. And with 4x4 capabilities, you'll be able to take this Bronco just about anywhere you want to go. Inside, you'll find the Eddie Bauer Edition trim, which adds a touch of luxury to this rugged SUV. The seats look to be in great shape, and the seller mentions that the air conditioning is fully functional, a must-have for those hot summer days. Now let's talk about the price. $20,000 is definitely on the high end for a Bronco of this age, but when you consider the excellent condition and the desirable features like the 5.0L engine and Eddie Bauer trim, it starts to make more sense. These Broncos have a cult following for a reason. They're reliable, capable, and just plain cool. And with the prices of classic SUVs on the rise, it's not unreasonable to think that this Bronco could hold its value or even appreciate over time. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's important to do your due diligence before pulling the trigger. Make sure to inspect the Bronco in person, take it for a test drive, and have a mechanic give it a once-over to ensure there aren't any hidden issues. But if everything checks out, this 1985 Ford Bronco could be the perfect addition to your garage. In summary, if you're in the market for a classic SUV that's in excellent condition and ready to tackle any adventure, this 1985 Ford Bronco is definitely worth a closer look. 5. We've got a real blast from the past for you. A 1969 Ford F-250 pickup truck that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic workhorse is being offered at $9,000, which seems like a fair price for a piece of automotive history. But before you pull the trigger, let's take a closer look at what this truck has to offer. First off, let's address the elephant in the room, the title status. The seller mentions that this F-250 has a salvage title, which means it's likely been in a serious accident or sustained significant damage at some point in its life. That's definitely something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer, as it could affect the truck's value and insurability down the line. Now let's talk about the good stuff. Under the hood, you'll find a beefy 8-cylinder engine that's sure to provide plenty of power for hauling and towing. The seller doesn't specify which engine it is, but given the year and model, it's likely a 360 or 390 cubic inch V8. Paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, this F-250 should be a capable workhorse for any job you throw at it. The odometer reading is listed at 77,121 miles, but the seller notes that it has rolled over. That means the actual mileage is likely much higher, which is to be expected for a truck of this age. Still, if the engine and transmission have been well maintained, high mileage shouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker. Cosmetically, the truck looks to be in decent shape for its age. The blue paint job has a nice patina to it, and the body panels appear to be straight and free of major dents or rust. Of course, as with any vehicle this old, there are likely to be some imperfections and signs of wear and tear. But overall, this F-250 looks like it has plenty of life left in it. So, who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American pickups and don't mind putting in a little work to keep an old truck on the road, this 1969 Ford F-250 could be a great project vehicle. It's not going to be a show queen, but with some elbow grease and a few upgrades, it could be a reliable and stylish daily driver or weekend warrior. 6. We've got a real treat for you. A 1978 Ford F-100 short bed stepside that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic pickup is being offered at $8,500, which seems like a fair price for a piece of automotive history that's ready for a new owner to take it to the next level. First off, let's talk about the condition of this truck. The seller describes it as good, and from what I can see in the photos, it looks like a solid starting point for a restoration project. The yellow paint job has a nice patina to it, and while there are likely some dings and dents here and there, the body panels appear to be straight and free of major rust. The seller mentions that the truck runs and drives 100% original, which is always a good sign. Under the hood, you'll find a numbers-matching 351 V8 engine, which is a great power plant for this era of Ford trucks. Paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, this F-100 should have plenty of grunt for hauling and cruising around town. The odometer shows 91,466 miles, which is relatively low for a truck of this age. Of course, as with any classic vehicle, it's always a good idea to have a mechanic check it out before making a purchase to ensure there aren't any hidden issues. Now, let's talk about the potential for this truck. The seller mentions that they were planning to do a full restoration on it, but plans changed. That means that the next owner has the opportunity to take this F-100 to the next level and make it truly their own. Whether you want to keep it original or go for a custom build, the possibilities are endless. With a clean title and a solid foundation to work from, this truck could be a real gem in the right hands. Of course, it's important to keep in mind that a restoration project is not for the faint of heart. It takes time, money, and a lot of elbow grease to bring an old truck back to its former glory. But for the right enthusiast, the journey is just as rewarding as the destination. And with a classic like this 1978 Ford F-100, you'll have a truck that turns heads and starts conversations wherever you go. 7. We've got a real head-turner for you. A 1984 GMC Sierra 1500 that's been given a new lease on life. This classic square body is up for grabs on Craigslist for $16,250, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This Sierra has been outfitted with a freshly built 5.3L V8 engine that's been given some serious upgrades. We're talking a truck Norris cam and springs, which means this baby is ready to rumble. Paired with a completely rebuilt 4L60E transmission with a new 2600 stall, upgraded clutches, planetary gears, and a shift kit from Transgo, this truck is ready to take on anything you throw at it. But the upgrades don't stop there. The seller has gone through and replaced just about everything you can think of, from bearings and seals to sensors and pumps. They've even thrown in a new alternator, power steering pump, water pump, timing chain set, battery, radiator, and fans. And let's not forget about those sweet 20/9 wheels wrapped in new tires. To give this Sierra the perfect stance, it's been lowered 4.56 with new spindles, shocks, and a C-notch. And with new window regulator motors and a 3 dual stainless exhaust, this truck is as functional as it is stylish. But perhaps the most impressive thing about this Sierra is how it drives. The seller says it runs and drives amazingly with excellent power and a smooth ride down the road. And with air conditioning, you can cruise in comfort all summer long. Now, I know what you're thinking. $16,250 is a lot of money for an old truck. But when you consider all the time, money, and effort that's gone into making this Sierra the beast that it is, it's actually a pretty sweet deal. The seller even admits that they've probably forgotten to list some of the new parts, which just goes to show how much love and attention this truck has received. Of course, as with any used vehicle, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a purchase. But if everything checks out, this 1984 GMC Sierra 1500 could be the perfect addition to any car enthusiast's collection. 8. We've got a real gem for you. A 1965 Chevrolet C10 long bed that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This classic pickup is up for grabs on Craigslist for $27,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the condition of this beauty. With only 65,800 miles on the odometer, this C10 is in remarkable shape for its age. The green exterior and beige interior are a classic color combination that never goes out of style, and the regular cab and long bed configuration make this truck as practical as it is stylish. Under the hood, you'll find a 327 Ci V8 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. This power plant is known for its reliability and power, and with rear-wheel drive, this C10 is ready to tackle any job you throw at it. But what really sets this truck apart is its overall condition. The seller doesn't provide a ton of details, but from what we can see in the photos, this C10 looks to be in excellent shape. The body panels are straight, the chrome is shiny, and the interior looks to be well maintained. Of course, as with any classic vehicle, there may be some minor imperfections here and there, but overall, this truck presents very well. Now let's talk about the price. At $27,500, this C10 is definitely on the higher end of the spectrum for a classic pickup. But when you consider the overall condition, the desirable configuration, and the fact that these trucks are only going up in value, it starts to make more sense. If you're looking for a solid investment that you can also enjoy driving and showing off, this 1965 Chevrolet C10 long bed might just be the perfect choice. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to have a mechanic inspect the truck before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C10 could be the crown jewel of your collection. 9. We've got a real treat for you. A 1957 Ford F100 pickup that's been completely restored and is ready to hit the road. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for $18,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This F100 has been outfitted with a 302 Ford crate engine that's paired with a C4 automatic transmission that was rebuilt just a few months ago. That means you've got plenty of power and reliability to tackle any job or cruise around town in style. But the upgrades don't stop there. This truck has been gone through from top to bottom, with new glass, door seals, window seals, and a complete wiring overhaul. It's also got power steering and brakes, which make driving this classic a breeze. And with all new gauges, a stereo system, and even a power radio antenna, this F100 is as modern as it is classic. The exterior of this truck is just as impressive as the mechanicals. The body has been painted a sleek gray, while the cab is a contrasting black. The bed has been sprayed with a durable bed liner, so you can haul whatever you need without worrying about scratches or dings. And with new tires and a fresh battery, this F100 is ready to hit the road at a moment's notice. Now I know what you're thinking. $18,500 is a lot of money for an old truck, but when you consider the amount of work and upgrades that have gone into this F100, it's actually a pretty great deal. The seller describes the condition as like new, and from what we can see in the photos, that seems to be an accurate assessment. Of course, as with any used vehicle, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a purchase. But if everything checks out, this 1957 Ford F100 could be the perfect addition to any car enthusiast's collection. In summary, if you're in the market for a classic American pickup that's been given a modern makeover, this 1957 Ford F100 is definitely worth a closer look. 10. We've got a real workhorse for you. A 1981 GMC K3500 dually flatbed that's up for sale on Craigslist. This beast is being offered at $10,000 or a possible trade, and it's got some serious potential for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This K3500 is powered by a 350 V8 engine that's paired with a SM465 manual transmission and a NP205 transfer case. That means you've got plenty of power and control to tackle any job, whether you're hauling heavy loads or hitting the trails. The bed on this truck is massive, measuring roughly 8 to 10 long and 7/6 wide. That's plenty of space for all your gear, tools, or whatever else you need to haul. And with a recent restoration, this K3500 is looking pretty sharp. The seller notes that the body is in great shape, although there are some small rust paint bubbles forming on the bottom of the door, and the clear coat is peeling. Of course, no used vehicle is perfect, and this K3500 has a few issues that need to be addressed. The biggest item is the tires, which only have a little life left. There's also a squeaky sound coming from one of the pulleys, the speedo doesn't work, and the climate controls need some attention, although the heater does work. It's also worth noting that this truck doesn't have a stereo, tachometer, or brake controller. But for the right buyer, these issues are relatively minor and can be easily addressed. With a little TLC, this 1981 GMC K3500 could be a real workhorse that's ready to tackle any job you throw at it. So, who is this truck for? Well, if you're in need of a heavy-duty flatbed that can haul just about anything, this K3500 is definitely worth a closer look. It's also a great option for anyone who appreciates the classic styling and rugged durability of these old GMC trucks. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. The seller encourages interested buyers to come check it out in person and ask any questions they may have. 11. We've got a real classic for you. A 1975 GMC C10 pickup that's just begging for a new owner to give it some love. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $7,500, and it's got a ton of potential for the right buyer. First off, let's talk about the history of this truck. The seller got it from the original owner, which is always a good sign. They've since installed a new 350 crate engine and a 4-speed manual transmission, so you know it's got plenty of power and fun to drive. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as good, but they do note that there is some rust present. However, they say it's not much, and the photos seem to back that up. This C10 looks like a solid starting point for a restoration project, and with no smog requirement, you've got a lot of freedom to make it your own. The odometer shows 111,800 miles, but the seller notes that it has rolled over. That means the actual mileage is likely higher, but with a new engine and transmission, that shouldn't be too much of a concern. Cosmetically, this C10 is rocking a classic yellow paint job that's sure to turn heads. It's the kind of color that just screams vintage cool, and with a little TLC, it could really shine. So, who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American pickups and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty, this 1975 GMC C10 could be the perfect project for you. It's got a solid foundation with the new engine and transmission, and the rust doesn't look too daunting. Plus, at just $7,500, it's a relatively affordable way to get into the world of classic car restoration. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C10 could be the start of a really fun and rewarding project. 12. We've got a real gem for you, a 1971 Chevy C20 pickup that's been lovingly maintained by just 2 owners over the past 50-plus years. This classic truck is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $7,200, and it's got a lot to offer. First off, let's talk about the history of this C20. The seller bought it 4 years ago from the original owner, who clearly took great care of it over the years. With just 88,000 original miles on the odometer, this truck has been driven sparingly and has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find the original engine that's been kept in great running condition. The seller notes that they recently replaced the radiator and fuel tank, so you can trust that this C20 has been well maintained mechanically. Now, let's talk about the condition. The seller is upfront about the fact that there is some rust present on the rocker panels, cab corners, and bed. However, this is to be expected on a truck of this age, and it doesn't seem to be anything too severe. With a little TLC, this C20 could be brought back to its former glory. Inside, you'll find an interior that's all original and in great shape considering its age. The bench seat looks to be in good condition, and the dash is free of any major cracks or damage. It's the kind of interior that just oozes classic charm. So who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of vintage pickups and you appreciate a vehicle with a story to tell, this 1971 Chevy C20 could be the perfect addition to your collection. It's got a great history, low mileage, and a price tag that won't break the bank. Plus, with a little work, you could have a real showstopper on your hands. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C20 could be a real gem. 13. We've got a real treat for you, a 1965 Chevy C10 classic truck that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for $21,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the history of this truck. The seller has all the documentation and history of work performed on this C10, which is a huge plus. It's always great to know exactly what you're getting when you're buying a classic vehicle. And as an added bonus, it even comes with the original owner's manual. Now let's talk about the specs. This C10 is a long bed model with a big back window, which gives it a really cool and unique look. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's paired with a manual transmission. That means you'll have full control over this beast and can really feel the power as you're driving. The odometer shows just 45,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a truck of this age. That means this C10 has been well maintained and hasn't been driven into the ground. And with a clean title, you can trust that this truck has a clear history and hasn't been in any major accidents. Cosmetically, this C10 is in good condition. The blue paint job looks great and really makes this truck stand out. Of course, as with any classic vehicle, there may be some minor imperfections here and there, but overall, this truck presents very well. So, who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American trucks and you appreciate the craftsmanship and style of the 1960s, this 1965 Chevy C10 is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a great history, low mileage, and a really cool look that's sure to turn heads. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C10 could be the perfect addition to your collection. 14. We've got a real gem for you, a 1969 Ford Ranchero that's sure to make your heart skip a beat. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for $25,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This Ranchero is packing a 351 V8 engine that's paired with a C4 automatic transmission and a 9-inch rear differential. That means you've got plenty of power and smooth shifting to make driving this classic a real joy. Plus, with factory power disc brakes, you can trust that this Ranchero will stop on a dime. Now, let's talk about the history of this car. It's a 2-owner vehicle with full service records and manuals, which is a huge plus. You can trust that this Ranchero has been well maintained throughout its life. And get this, it was built right here in the USA, in Kansas City. Cosmetically, this Ranchero is a real stunner. It's finished in the original lime green color, which is sure to turn heads wherever you go. The black interior is also original and in great shape. The seller mentions that the car had a closed-door repaint 22 years ago, which means the paint job has held up incredibly well over time. And with all the original brightwork still intact, this Ranchero looks just as good as it did when it rolled off the assembly line. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Ranchero also comes with a factory AM/FM stereo, so you can cruise in style while listening to your favorite tunes. And with an upgraded dual exhaust system, you'll have a throaty growl that's sure to turn heads. The seller also mentions that this Ranchero comes with extra trim moldings, which is a nice bonus. You'll have everything you need to keep this classic looking its best for years to come. So who is this car for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American muscle and you appreciate the unique style of the Ford Ranchero, this car is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a great history, a stunning color combo, and plenty of power under the hood. Plus, with all the upgrades and extra parts included, you'll have everything you need to enjoy this car for years to come. 15. We've got a real treat for you. A 1971 Chevrolet K5 Blazer CST 4X4 that's ready to take on any adventure. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for $24,900, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the style of this Blazer. The ochre exterior color is absolutely stunning and is sure to turn heads wherever you go. Paired with the saddle brown vinyl upholstery, this Blazer has a classic look that's both rugged and refined. But this Blazer isn't just about looks. It's got plenty of power under the hood too. With a 350cc V8 engine that delivers 255 horsepower, you'll have no trouble tackling any terrain. And with a 3-speed automatic transmission and dual-range transfer case, you'll have the versatility you need to handle any situation. One of the coolest features of this Blazer is the removable white hardtop. When the weather's nice, you can take it off and enjoy the open air. And when you need a little more protection, just pop it back on and you're good to go. Other great features of this Blazer include chrome bumpers, power-assisted brakes, and power steering. These modern touches make this classic ride easy to handle and a joy to drive. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller doesn't mention any major issues, and the photos show a Blazer that looks to be in great shape. Of course, as with any used vehicle, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. The odometer shows 95,029 miles, which is relatively low for a vehicle of this age. And with a clean title, you can trust that this Blazer has a clear history. So, who is this Blazer for? Well, if you're looking for a classic ride that's ready for any adventure, this 1971 Chevrolet K5 Blazer CST 404 is definitely worth a closer look. Whether you're cruising the streets or hitting the trails, this Blazer has the style and performance to get you where you need to go. Year 16. We've got a real gem for you. A 1965 Chevrolet C10 step-side pickup that's been lovingly cared for by the seller's grandfather. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $15,000, and let me tell you, it's a steal. First off, let's talk about the rarity of this truck. It's got a 3-speed manual transmission, which is pretty hard to find in a C10 of this vintage. That means you'll have full control over the power coming from the 5.7L V8 engine, and you'll get to enjoy the classic driving experience that only a manual transmission can provide. But the upgrades don't stop there. This C10 has been outfitted with an aftermarket radio and speakers, so you can cruise in style while listening to your favorite tunes. It's also got new tires, which means you won't have to worry about replacing them anytime soon. And check out that wood bed. It's a beautiful touch that really sets this truck apart. Now let's talk about the condition. The seller describes it as excellent, and from what I can see in the photos, that seems to be accurate. The paint looks shiny and smooth, and the body panels are straight and free of any major dents or rust. It's clear that this truck has been well maintained throughout its life. The odometer shows just 49,073 miles, which is incredibly low for a vehicle of this age. That means you'll have plenty of life left in this truck, and you can enjoy driving it for years to come. And with a clean title, you can trust that this C10 has a clear history and hasn't been in any major accidents. So who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American pickups and you appreciate the craftsmanship and style of the 1960s, this 1965 Chevrolet C10 step-side pickup is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a rare manual transmission, low mileage, and a beautiful wood bed that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C10 could be the perfect addition to your collection. In summary, if you're in the market for a classic pickup that's been well maintained and has a ton of character, this 1965 Chevrolet C10 step-side pickup is definitely worth considering. 17. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1968 Chevrolet El Camino that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This classic ride is up for grabs on Craigslist for $25,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the condition of this El Camino. The seller describes it as good, and from what I can see in the photos, that seems to be accurate. The blue paint job looks shiny and smooth, and the black interior appears to be in great shape. It's clear that this car has been well maintained throughout its life. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful V8 350 engine that's been outfitted with some serious upgrades. We're talking a Holleycarb, Edelbrock intake and valve covers, MSD ignition, and polished accessory pulleys. This thing is ready to roar down the road and turn heads wherever it goes. But the upgrades don't stop there. This El Camino has been outfitted with air conditioning to keep you cool on those hot summer days, as well as power steering to make driving a breeze. It's also got an aluminum radiator with dual electric fans to keep everything running cool and smooth. The transmission is a 3-speed automatic with a B&M shifter, which means you'll have plenty of power and control at your fingertips. And with aftermarket gauges and a CD player, you'll have all the modern conveniences you need to enjoy your ride. Now let's talk about the history of this car. The seller mentions that it's a West Coast vehicle with a clean title, which is always a good sign. That means it's likely been well protected from harsh weather and road conditions throughout its life. So, who is this El Camino for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American muscle cars and you appreciate the unique style of the El Camino, this ride is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a ton of power under the hood, a sleek and stylish exterior, and plenty of modern upgrades to make driving a joy. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this 1968 Chevrolet El Camino could be the car of your dreams. 18. We've got a real gem for you. A fully restored 1972 Chevrolet C10 Custom that's ready to hit the road. This beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist for $18,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the restoration work that's gone into this truck. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, and from what I can see in the photos, that seems to be an understatement. This C10 looks like it just rolled off the showroom floor, with a stunning blue and white paint job that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Under the hood, you'll find a healthy and strong Chevy V8 350 engine that's ready to provide all the power you need. Paired with a brand new Chevy automatic transmission and a 12-bolt rear axle, this truck is built to handle anything you throw at it. But the upgrades don't stop there. This C10 has been outfitted with power disc brakes and power steering, making it a breeze to drive and handle. The black leather upholstery looks absolutely stunning and provides a comfortable ride, while the CD stereo system lets you cruise in style. Other great features include MSD ignition components, a dual exhaust system, chrome bumpers, and a built-in toolbox. And check out those blue vintage California plates. They're the perfect finishing touch on this already incredible truck. Now let's talk about the driving experience. The seller mentions that this C10 drives like brand new, and I have no doubt that's true. With all the upgrades and restoration work that's gone into it, this truck is sure to provide a smooth and enjoyable ride every time you get behind the wheel. So, who is this truck for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American pickups and you appreciate the time and effort that goes into a full restoration, this 1972 Chevrolet C10 Custom is definitely worth a closer look. It's got the perfect blend of vintage style and modern upgrades, making it a truck that's sure to impress. Of course, as with any used vehicle purchase, it's always a good idea to give it a thorough inspection before making a final decision. But if everything checks out, this C10 could be the truck of your dreams. 19. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1971 Chevrolet El Camino that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This stunning ride is up for grabs on Craigslist for $22,000, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the exterior of this El Camino. The seller describes it as having a very straight, clean body, and from what I can see in the photos, that's absolutely true. The black paint job is absolutely gorgeous and looks like it's been meticulously cared for. It's the kind of finish that you can't help but stare at. But the beauty of this El Camino isn't just skin deep. Under the hood, you'll find a GM 383 CID engine with aluminum heads that the seller says runs and sounds amazing. Paired with a TCI 400th transmission and a MagnaFlow exhaust system, this thing is ready to roar down the road and turn heads wherever it goes. The upgrades don't stop there, though. This El Camino has been outfitted with some serious suspension components from Hotchkiss, including tubular A-arms, upper and lower trailing arms, and anti-sway bars. That means this ride is ready to handle like a dream, whether you're cruising down the highway or carving up some twisty back roads. And let's not forget about those wheels and tires. This El Camino is riding on a set of 18.8 and 18.10 US mags wrapped in Nitto tires. They look absolutely killer and really set off the overall look of the car. Inside, you'll find a brand new interior that looks absolutely stunning. The seller doesn't provide too many details, but from what I can see in the photos, it looks like a comfortable and stylish place to spend some time. Now, let's talk about the mileage. The odometer shows just 5,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a car of this age. Of course, it's possible that the odometer has been reset or replaced at some point, but even so, this El Camino looks to be in fantastic condition. So, who is this car for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American muscle cars and you appreciate the unique style of the El Camino, this ride is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a ton of power under the hood, some serious suspension upgrades, and a look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. 20. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1971 Chevrolet El Camino that's been built up as an SS tribute. This stunning ride is up for grabs on Craigslist for $20,900, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the exterior of this El Camino. It's been outfitted with all the SS goodies, including a cowl induction hood, SS emblems, and new front and rear bumpers. The blue paint job looks absolutely gorgeous, and the 15-inch centerline wheels really set off the overall look of the car. And check out that new front grille. It's the perfect finishing touch. Under the hood, you'll find a Chevrolet 350 Ram jet crate engine that's ready to provide all the power you need. Paired with a 350 transmission and a 12-bolt rear end, this thing is built to handle whatever you throw at it. And with a new serpentine belt system, radiator, power steering pump, and battery, you can trust that this El Camino has been well maintained. But the upgrades don't stop there. This El Camino has been outfitted with new ball joints, outer tie rods, and brakes front and rear. That means it's ready to handle like a dream, whether you're cruising down the highway or carving up some twisty back roads. Inside, you'll find a bunch of great upgrades as well. There's a new vintage air conditioner to keep you cool on those hot summer days, as well as a new dash pad, door panels, and headliner. The Sony AM/FM radio with CD player is the perfect addition, and the wood steering wheel adds a touch of classic style. Now, let's talk about the mileage. The odometer shows 21,755 miles, but the seller notes that it has rolled over. That means the actual mileage is likely much higher, but given all the upgrades and maintenance that's been done, it shouldn't be a major concern. The seller mentions that they have receipts for parts and service totaling over $10,000, which just goes to show how much work has gone into this El Camino. And while the price is listed as negotiable, it's clear that this is a car that's been built with love and attention to detail. So, who is this car for? Well, if you're a fan of classic American muscle cars and you appreciate the unique style of the El Camino, this ride is definitely worth a closer look. It's got a ton of power under the hood, some great upgrades inside and out, and a look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go.